All right, it is time to get started this morning. Good to see everybody. For those who were here last week, we kind of ended, not all the way through a lesson, but we're going to kind of follow up on that, finish that, and kind of switch gears a little bit halfway through. So we've been looking at some just different images of the Father, and we got a little bit literal last time on imagery of the Father, and talked a bit at length about the passages that kind of warn us against graven imagery and the idea of what that looks like and how to avoid the problem with it. Because I think if we were to really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, I think we could all agree, we should never make ourselves graven image. The graven image isn't actually what the problem is, although we shouldn't do it. The problem is what we do with that. And that was what was addressed in it, is because the follow-up to that is because we shouldn't bow down to anything else. And so then it's like, okay, so how do we apply that? How do we make sure that we're not taking anything out of its perspective of maybe something that helps us remember something? We talked a little bit about how in the New Testament, is it possible that we could take a nice image of something to help us trigger our memory like the cross and turn it into a graven image? And I think, the answer is there's a point, and there's a line at somewhere where we would cross, where we'd take something which is something that is kind of a good indicator that, of what happened in the past, a good reminder, kind of a memory trigger, if you will, and turn it into something that we could abuse and misuse. And we've seen that happen by a lot of people before, people who will bow down before it as though it has magical powers and try to ward things off with it. And so there's a line, and I think we can, most of us could probably all agree where the wrong side is and where the good side of just having, seeing a picture of the cross and remembering what Jesus did for us. But then where's that gray area in the middle, and where do we define the line? That's kind of where we got, I'm going to say, hung up on last time, but we had a pretty good discussion about that last time. So we started then to really look at toward the tail end of the lesson about really what we need to be focusing on isn't the image of God and what he might look like, because we're given what Christ, or what God looks like through Christ. And so that's really where our focus needs to be. If we ever want to see God, if we ever want to see and better understand him, we're driven toward the Son. And that's what we need to be kind of focusing on. So Josh, if you're ready, you're going to start us off in the very first verse here in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1. All right, so there's a lot of different ways that, we have this, but it says, but in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he also made the universe. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being. And that's really where we kind of focus. We did read this verse last time, and this is about where we were kind of wrapping things up last time. So we'll pick up from here. So if